With the recent crash in GPU prices here in Australia, one has to wonder if you are sitting on some stock, especially if you sell gaming PCs, is there a way to mitigate the damage? And today we're going to be actually mitigating some of my own damage, where this is the main one here, a GTX 1080 Ti. I paid $650 for this card, and also then, because it had a water block on it, I had to buy an aftermarket cooling solution and put that on. So this owes me 700 Aussie dollars. Now, I'll put the US dollar pricing up on the screen for you guys so you can roughly work out how much it would be in your area. But this card right now, I don't believe in the current environment, it is worth that 700 Aussie dollars, where I recently picked up personally a 3060 Ti for 670 Aussie dollars delivered. So I'd much rather a 3060 Ti than a 1080 Ti. So now we're sitting in a situation where I was going to put this in a gaming PC and I kind of got caught with my pants down. So I've got to fix the situation, and today I'm going to be fixing that situation pretty quickly. But what we've also got here is a 1050 Ti, a 1050, a 970, and also a 1660 Ti. Now the prices I paid for these, I was actually very happy with the prices I paid. I'll put them up on the screen for you, and I don't really have much to worry about. Even if GPU prices come down more, because I got such a good deal on these cards, I really am in no sweat where I have to rush out and sort of do something quickly. But with this GTX 1080 Ti, we kind of have a problem that we've got to fix very quickly. So we've just picked up a gigabyte 650 watt power supply for this build. We got this for 40 Aussie dollars. We've also picked up the RGB case with the 4 fans, that's 60 Aussie dollars. And I ended up from another contact I know, they do tech upgrades and they're kind of like a little tech outlet. And they had an old Z87 motherboard with 16 gigabytes of RAM that they did this for 50 Aussie dollars. So we're gonna add in an i7 4790 into that, put a cooler on top, and I've also already got a 120 gigabyte SSD, 2 terabyte hard drive. So all up, we will be putting this rig together for under 1,000 Aussie dollars now with a 1080 Ti. So we've gone and got the other deals to make this rig happen for a relatively cheap price to offset the higher cost of the graphics card relative to the market. So that's the most important thing for me. I'm like, okay, how can I sort of make lemonade with those lemons? And this is the thing, right? They're rotting by the day. Those lemons are rotting by the day. So you got to use them up faster before things could get potentially worse. But we'll talk about what could potentially be good when we get home. We'll build this rig up, make sure it's okay. Then we'll talk about possibly what could potentially get worse.
Are you tired of seeing this annoying activate Windows message? Then if so, today's video sponsor SCE Keys has you covered. For as little as $14 using the coupon code BFTYC, you can get activated today. Works for Windows 11 Pro too. Links in the description below.
And here we are now with the build finished, but you may notice one thing with this PC, and that is the graphics card is literally taking up 4 slots in this build. I actually haven't put in a card that is a 4-slot GPU in any rig I've ever built or sold. So this is my first time using the Morpheus cooler, and we have mounted 2 12cm fans to it. I don't know if there's some particular model of fan that you should be using with this cooler, but I'm hoping that this will be either like one of the best things for this PC or it could be bad. We've got to see ultimately what the temperatures perform like in games. So if it runs a benchmark and the temperatures are extremely low for the GPU, we can then kind of use that as like a, wow, the coolest 1080 Ti on the market, like figuratively and literally. So we got that set up, and the PC's just running, like really humming along. It's quiet, really extremely quiet. But also we've got these red cables that came with this gigabyte power supply, and they kind of spice up the build a little bit. So overall, I'm really actually happy with what's come out of this price performance, like on the surface so far. With the gigabyte power supply though, I'm pretty sure this is the one that's not the bad one. I gotta double check that, which I will. But I think anyway, with a non-OC CPU with the 4790 and a 1080 Ti, if we maybe perhaps even undervolt it, that's actually another good idea. 1080 Ti, we'll run it out of the box and then we'll undervolt it, see how low that we can get the temperatures over ambient, because I mean, maybe if we can get a 40-something degree running 1080 Ti, that would be actually pretty cool. And now we're here at the final stage of the flip. That is, we're gonna put it up for sale, and we're gonna put this one up actually for sale for 1,100 Aussie dollars. I think we'll be able to get that just because that cooler in the end did perform really well with the undervolt. And here's where we're gonna report on these results a little bit, where it went up to 64 degrees, and in heaven, it ended up getting under 6,000 points just out of the box default. But then when we upped the memory speeds, lowered the core clocks a bit, lowered that voltage, we were then getting 54 degrees maximum, but also the score was higher. We came over 6,000 points. So that was really impressive to see that an undervolt works extremely well on a 1080 Ti. And of course, the best part of all that is that our power consumption went down from 394 watts from the wall for the whole system down to 298. So that's nearly a 100-watt drop from the wall just with this undervolt. And I'm kind of like, if you guys remember, I used to use quite a few Acceleros back in the day when they were going really cheap. I think they were like $30 at one stage for sale. That was the triple fan Accelero. And people told me to use the Morpheus. They said, get the Morpheus, give the Morpheus a go. I never really bothered because the Morpheus was more expensive than the Accelero. But trying it out today, the Morpheus sort of, I think, is not as good as the Accelero. So be some people out there that probably don't like that, but maybe it's because I put on these two Cooler Master fans that were just lying around. Maybe you can get much better fans. For instance, probably the Noctua fans would do a better job. But the Accelero already has the 3 fans included. So that was definitely leading the race, I feel, between Accelero versus Morpheus. Though back to the matter at hand, and that is the flip and potentially losing money in this kind of market. Now, I've had a few people on our Discord talk about they got these GPUs, they paid higher prices for them, they were in the process of trying to do some flips and these prices are coming down, and they're worried that they will lose money. And for me, I'm only worried about this PC really because that 1080 Ti, as I said before, we paid 700 Aussie dollars in total, and I feel the market value where I am locally of a 1080 Ti is going to be about 500 Aussie dollars now, especially when the RTX 3060 and the 3060 Ti, they're just crashed down in prices where I am locally. In the previous video that we did, I'll put the link up here, I talked about how the 3060 Ti, where I am locally, I picked one up for under MSRP, and that's 670 Aussie dollars. That's brand new RTX card, got all the latest features, faster than a 1080 Ti, and that card was $670 delivered. So we can see that I got that card cheaper than this 1080 Ti, which I got back a little while ago, and it's just much better value now. So that's how quick the market can change on you. And so you don't want to be caught with your hand in the cookie jar, so to speak, and be caught out by these market shifts. Because what we're going to see now, and I said this last year, I expect the next year in 2022 to be a roller coaster. And so this is definitely the beginning of that roller coaster ride especially on the way down. And so how long this is going to go down for, I'm predicting GPU prices will keep coming down until September. Of course, on the way, there may be some sellouts at retailers and whatnot. The prices may move a little bit higher, but in general, I think the prices of GPUs are coming down just simply because of that massive threat of institutions dumping cards on the market because of the move of Ethereum from proof of stake. But even if they don't move over to proof of stake on Ethereum, I was told in June anyway, there's going to be this massive increase in difficulty, which will make the miners definitely not as profitable as they are now. So pretty much the writing is on the wall, at least for crypto mining, in terms of especially buying these new cards at those higher inflated prices and then just trying to make a profit on them. But as it stands, I think mining is still profitable from what I told. And actually it was really good. I spoke to a few different retailers, and what was going on in the market was that even in Australia, these cards were getting shipped to Australia, and some of the retailers were then just selling them back overseas to other countries with massive mining demand and not even selling them to the public here. So that's some more information I found out today, and I was kind of a bit shocked to hear that, because it's like you've shipped it all the way to Australia. Okay, there's not really that much institutional mining going on in Australia, so we're going to ship them to the countries and they're paying ridiculous amounts for these cards, and then they're going to essentially take them out of the hands of gamers. So it's been a big problem where gamers haven't been able to buy these cards, but now it seems like a lot of those institutions have stopped buying the cards, and now suddenly there's this massive supply on the market for the gamers, and of course the gamers aren't prepared to pay anywhere near those ridiculous prices that were being offered beforehand. And so that's just sent the market into a complete tailspin almost in like a week, and this was just insane. And I'm hearing people in the US now are getting really good deals on GPUs. They're coming down a lot in price in the US. It seems like Australia was kind of like the first foot in the door in terms of leading the way in these prices. But what we're seeing right now is the whole market is having to react now to this, and that's me included, a person who does sell gaming PCs, and I've got to be quick to make sure that I don't get caught out even more, because if some of these newer GPU prices, say for instance an RTX 3080 does come around that MSRP and it's just readily available in stock, and say for instance an RTX 3060 Ti can be had for those prices day in, day out, that's going to put massive pressure on the used market, which means the prices will have to drop there as well, meaning that pretty much everything in general will come down in price. So new and used gaming PCs will be able to be built a lot cheaper, and already they're going to be built a lot cheaper. As we can see with me, I'm just getting this 1080 Ti, which I believe 3 months ago I would have been able to score around $1,400, possibly even $1,500 for this rig. Instead, I'm now trying to get $1,100 for it. So you can just see the massive drop off there, and I'm just hoping to crawl my money back and not lose, because I just hate losing. And that's one thing, I don't know about you guys, but I just hate losing. And I generally, over the time of doing flipping, I can't really off the top of my head picture one flip where I've lost money. And so I want to keep that trend up. I don't want to be caught out. And this is me just reacting with that final GPU that I paid. I feel back then it was okay, but now I feel like it's not a good deal. So I'm going to try and work that out and fix that problem without losing money. But going forward, if you want to get into PC gaming, I feel like it's going to get a lot better finally, where we've been waiting out for such a long time and sort of crawling through the sand, just trying to survive this GPU apocalypse. But now I feel like things are getting back to normal, at least in PC gaming. And someone did make a joke in one of the GPU videos I did recently, where it's like the whole world around you is just crumbling down, but hey, you got your GPU for MSRP, so you're happy. But if you're a seller though, this is where it comes down to. If you're a seller, I've been saying this for quite a while, where my personal philosophy on it is generally I like to do high turnover, and that's because you're not sitting on anything for too long. And I think that high turnover model is a lot better in this situation. As we saw in the last 2 weeks, GPU prices just fell off a cliff from what they previously were, which has created this market distortion where you then have to react to the new pricing. And so that's what I'm doing now. And I'm sure in a few days when I do the parts hunt, things are going to be a lot better this month. I'm looking forward to getting some really awesome deals coming into it. But until then, I want to rid myself of the old deals, even if I'm breaking even at worst. And so that's kind of like that profit margin I originally had with that GTX 1080 Ti. I'm now just going to forfeit it. Who cares? At least I didn't lose. And then I'm going to move on and react to the new market. And so if you are selling gaming PCs and you're sitting on that stuff now, you might want to move it as quick as you can, hopefully without incurring any losses, because I have heard some stories here locally of some people, someone recently bought 20 or something 3060 Ti's 2 weeks ago for, I think it was like $1,100 a piece each. And then the prices are down to like $700 each. And it's kind of like, well, there's $400 times 20, you just lost $8,000. But I think the last piece of advice is if you are a seller and you've got some stock, especially GPUs, and you're sitting on them and you've paid X amount for them, then you may wish to think about selling them sooner than later, especially with that sort of shadow hanging over the market where there's the potential for GPU prices to come down even more. So that is lingering out there. I think that is now something that even a few months ago just did not even seem possible, but now it can be a reality. And I think that's in the back of people's minds. And so I've always been aware of that sort of factor, and things can change so quickly where you can have sometimes a year of events happen in just a week. And I think that's what's kind of happening here. A lot's taking place. And so for me, I always position myself not to get my hand caught in the cookie jar. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Also for this PC, it's running really smooth. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I was playing a bit of Apex Legends on it, really good FPS. So I'm happy with how it turned out in the end. Of course, when it comes to putting this thing together, you can see with the motherboard, all the components I'm putting in, I'm just saving money on every single turn. And that's, I guess, enabling me, even with that overpriced 1080 Ti, not to lose a whole lot of money. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to hit that like button. Also, let us know in the comment section below if you have any questions, whether you're a buyer or seller. Love reading your thoughts and opinions. As always, just like this question of the day here, which comes from Puts. And they say, can you share what the name of the track at 13 minutes and 39 seconds is, cleaning the GPU heat sinks and testing afterwards part? So to answer that first question, a lot of people ask me about the music. I think the best thing to do is just get an app on your phone called Shazam, where it can just test out the song and then tell you the name of it. I use so many tracks, but in this case, that track was called 1984 Lasers. It was actually a really cool track that I just heard, and I thought, okay, I'll pop that in the video. And also the last question is, what is the fate of all the faulty GPUs you encounter? Where do they end up? So at the moment, all the faulty GPUs are just piling up. I've got this massive pile of faulty GPUs, and I do want to, when I get some free time, eventually try to do proper fixes where I'm changing things like MOSFETs and stuff like that. So I'd love to learn that. Until then, the GPU pile will just keep stacking up. Also, I do sometimes use the coolers off those faulty GPUs, and that's a really important thing. If you get a faulty GPU, don't just chuck it out. The cooler can be very, very good, and it's actually saved me where a few of the coolers have had fans that aren't working, and I can just, because it's the same GPU, I can just replace the faulty GPU's cooler on the one that's working, and I've got now a 100% functional GPU. So the cooler is definitely worth something in itself. So I do keep them, and there is a pile building up, but we'll work that out later. Hope that answers that question. And if you guys have stayed this far and you're enjoying that TechS content, then be sure to hit that sub button, ring that bell. Also, if you want some behind the scenes footage, there is the join button too, which I will be posting a vlog very soon. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out for now. Bye.